So Katie Miller, Stephen Miller's wife, I haven't really heard that much about her, but I've just been watching some clips of her recently, and it seems like that she's just as crazy and moronic as Stephen Miller is, just as evil. And so check this out. This has got to be one of the funniest interviews I've ever come across, and I want to share it with you guys because it really is. I'm in the giving season. It's Christmas is coming up, the holiday season's coming up, and I want to make sure that people are laughing as much as they possibly can, especially in dark times such as these. So let's check this out. It's really fascinating.
Why is it that every time someone wants to criticize Mamdani, it immediately comes back to the Jews and the anti-Israel movement instead of actually talking about his viewpoints, which is that he
Nobody
wants to
said
make
Jews. You just said it. You always do that. We say Israel, you say Jews. We say Israel is a government. Please don't make it about Jewish Americans. And you come back and go, you have to make it about Jewish Americans. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you?
Is Israel a Jewish state? Yes or no?
Yeah. First of all, okay, so Saudi Arabia is a Muslim state, and you can criticize it all day long, all day long. There's no special protection
because
for
what you're doing is you're decoding language
that calls themselves a Jewish state or a Muslim state.
And to say that we should not be here and we should not be in existence, and that you would be happy for other people like Mamdani to use it.
I want Israel to be safe.
Nothing of the sort.
Nonsense. You're totally lying. It's very normal for a Miller to be completely and utterly lying.
Yeah, it's obviously not what he was saying, right? Criticism, again, I don't mean to get into the weeds of the Israel-Palestine debate, but rather just focusing on the logic of the arguments presented here. Cenk himself is explicitly saying, I'm not criticizing Jewish people themselves. I'm criticizing the government. You got to separate the government from the people whenever you're enacting criticism about a certain country. So she's like criticizing him because she's saying that he's using decoding language or whatever that means. But she's doing, if there's anyone playing language games, it's her, because she's trying to define the terms in such a way that she will be right by definition by immediately labeling the opposition as anti-Semitic, which obviously isn't the case. They're criticizing the government and the practices of the government while refusing to criticize the people. And Cenk seems to be bending over backwards to make sure that he expresses this. And she just doesn't seem to care. She knows.
True, we want Israel to be a safe haven for Jews, 1967 borders, but you guys say, no, more Palestinian land. Take Gaza, take the West Bank, take southern Lebanon. Your greed knows no bounds. And by the way, you and your husband are supposed to be working for America, not for Israel. I think you're betraying this country.
All right, Cenk, let Katie...
Piers,
right,
if I could just jump in here on a quick note.
Omar, I'll come to you, but let Katie finish her point, then I'll come to you. Katie.
No, Piers, quite frankly, I'm really sick and tired of this racist, bigoted rhetoric that comes from people like you against my husband, against my family, and my children. I am raising Jewish children in this country.
Who brought your children into this? What a weirdo.
Piers, I'm going to be done with this if you're going to allow racist and bigoted attacks against one of your commentators just for the sake that he will not
hang on.
speaking.
Casey, to be clear, he inserted
a line.
You can just look at the confusion on everyone's faces because they have no idea what direction these accusations of racism are coming from. What's racist about this? Doesn't make any sense whatsoever. You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of there was a debate between the streamer named Destiny, and he was on Jubilee, one of those Jubilee shows. And then there was a point where a girl immediately accused Destiny of being a sexist.
The proceedings were. If they did, then it's bad. Wait, just to be clear, this is the difference between me and you, okay? Is that if everything you're telling me is true...
I'm a female. I'm a female.
You're
so
wanting to make America great again.
I'm a female. Yeah, I just put it on. I had a cowgirl hat on.
That's the difference that I'm talking about. I don't care that you're a woman.
I'm a female and you're a male, and it's almost like you're attacking me because I'm a female. Are you anti-female? Are you anti-female?
Half the time I am, okay?
I'm
completely unprompted. It was one of the most funniest things I've ever come across when it comes to a debate. Only second to this.
The Miller's lie. Is that not coded language? Or therefore we are Jewish? Come on, Piers. Where are you?
What?
Where are you standing?
God, you're so
Katie,
pathetic.
if I can speak.
Everything's your shield.
If I can speak, listen.
Fire him, cancel him, America. Oh my God, Israel's feelings have been hurt. Why don't you work for this country?
Can we try and get
this country instead of Israel?
Can we please? All right, let's stop the ad hominem attacks.
I want to start off with, do you agree when your guest says that the Millers always lie? Because that's what your guest on your show just said, is that the Millers always lie. And so now I'll continue into saying, Mamdani, just as you said here, is a socialist. He is someone who is going to drive New York to the bottom. I'm excited for him to win because he'll prove to every other single large city in our country that what you will see is failure, what you will see is high crime, what you will see is murders, what you will see is a prominent city in our country fall into complete disrepair, and you will see large amounts of capital and tax dollars exit the city immediately, because what people are voting for is their own downfall. When you play into identity politics as he's done, when you stand behind a podium and your first comment is, oh my gosh, my aunt on the train, instead of talking about all those who lost their lives on 9/11, then you're doing something wrong, Piers. But I will sit here and say that for the reasons in which he is wrong and which he will drive New York into failure is again the same reason why people on your show, instead of arguing the merits, as you say, of his opinions, they're going to sit here and use attacks on my husband and myself instead of debating us on our values and our opinions. It is gross, it is racist, and it is bigoted. And I will not join your show again if you
your values suck. That's what I'm debating.
This is so ridiculous. Yeah.
Well, Katie, let me just make it clear.
Piers Morgan is basically just telling her to grow up. Like, stop it. Stop being so easily offended. Oh my God. First of all, it wasn't anti-Semitic in the slightest. When someone says, screw the Millers or whatever, I guess whenever you're referencing the Millers, the Miller family, it's anti-Semitic by definition. If you even say so much as one tiny little negative thing about them, I suppose. I'm not really sure what exactly her argument is because she's saying that they're not arguing their values. They're throwing anti-Semitic remarks, and her example is referencing the Millers, which is stupid. I don't know. Maybe there's some lore that I'm not caught up on. Maybe there's some subsection of the internet where that is an anti-Semitic dog whistle. If there is, I have no idea. But I don't think that within the context of this video, that was the anticipated that was the purpose of saying that. I don't understand this is just the most confusing and funniest interview I've come across.
The show. But it's interesting to note that there have been an increasing number of very ad hominem attacks on Mamdani, and a lot of it has had a whiff of genuine Islamophobia. And I don't think it means that any of us have to endorse that or anything to actually accept that that is what's been happening. And I see the same thing happen with Jewish candidates in American politics. I see a stench of anti-Semitism from certain quarters towards Jewish candidates. But we certainly see this with Mamdani, and it's ugly, and it's horrible, and it shouldn't be. Yeah, you are a guest on my show, and I appreciate you coming on the show, and I like you coming on the show.
And I'm saying the two other guests on your show are welcome to participate in these anti-Semitic attacks that is so permeating on CNN and MSNBC.
This is so ridiculous. I'm sorry. I have to jump in here. Somebody criticizing you personally is not an anti-Semitic attack. If somebody says that you are lying, that is not an attack on Jews. That is an attack on you. And just stop hiding behind identity. This is all the snowflake behavior that the right is supposedly criticizing the left for, that you're simply repeating here. Yes, Stephen Miller is a destructive force in American society. That is not an attack on Jews. That is no reference to his identity. This is an attack on him individually, and just deal with the merits of this case. And also when it comes to Mamdani and all the stuff that he said,
let's go there.
Whatever you want to call him, you have to be clear about the fact.
Bring us the Israeli state, right? That's how we got here in the first place. Let's rewind.
Mamdani, and we should be clear about what Mamdani said in relation to policing in New York and Israel.
How we got here was Jillian very perfectly pointed out that we should not use identity politics to get here. And immediately we went to the state of Israel.
No, I'm sorry. The state of Israel is not identity politics. That is a foreign government that is engaged in genocide and war crimes. And we're allowed to criticize that without you pulling identity politics into this. It is utterly unrelated. And Mamdani, by the way.
Yeah, that's the weird thing, is that she's criticizing identity politics, which, again, I would criticize identity politics too. I think there's certain instances in which someone's identity can benefit the argument in so much as it highlights the plight of that certain person, but you should never use that as the barometer to determine whether or not a particular argument is true. I agree. More often than not, don't bring identity politics into it. We should be able to have a sober conversation about it, just based on the merits, based on the facts. But she's claiming that they're playing identity politics and fails to explain how. Meanwhile, she's over here calling them racist, saying like this is just another anti-Semitic attack on me and my family, on my kids. She is playing the identity politics game, but she's trying to gaslight the audience into making them believe that it's actually the opposition that's playing this game. Look how terrible the opposition is. But it's weird because she's just not good at it, because the comments are just not in her favor, right? Victim card has expired. Katie Miller's pathetic attempts to play the victim was just too funny. But yeah, just look at some of these other comments. Katie Miller made an absolute fool of herself. This is so fun to watch. Katie, shut up, leave. Katie is using her children as human shields. Oof, deep cut right there. Jillian adding nothing to the debate except exceptional facial expressions and exacerbated size. Yeah, I don't know who I don't know who Jillian is, and I apologize if she's like a big heavy hitter that I should know about. But all I know is that she was giving some of the funniest facial expressions here. But yeah, anyways, that's the state of current political discourse by the wife of Stephen Miller, or being shown to us by the wife of Stephen Miller. Anyways, it's just some levity to help us during these dark times.